Today we're over at Hackney, just carrying out a canal job, basically a tree on the side of the footpath, overhanging, so it's a bit of an obstacle for some of the boats, and it's got basically weak union points in the bottom, so we need to take out some of the weight out of the tree as it's a multi-stem. So just basically like a hard crown reduction really. Yeah, so preserve the tree for a lot longer. A lot of people look at tree surgeons and just think we cut down trees, but that's not always the thing we do. It's just about trying to keep the trees and preserve them as long as we can. My name is Dan Andrews. I'm an arborist. I run a team of about 4 to 5 people. It's my own firm. Yeah, come through. Yeah, it's Andrews of Kimpton we run, which is a Hertfordshire-based company. We travel all over really within about an hour and a half. So we travel into London. We can travel up to like Northampton, sometimes Daventry. Yeah, so we travel about an hour and a half. Your bread and butter. Sometimes you can have like a lot of domestic clients. Your commercial clients are quite bread and butter to be honest, because they bring in obviously a constant flow of work. Depends on different varieties. As we're here today, we're doing work on behalf of the Canal and River Trust, so we only normally carry out a lot of the biggest works we carry out during winter periods because nesting bird season. So at the moment we're having to carry out a nesting bird form just to make sure there's no nesting birds. So normally their sort of work we carry out through winter time. It's just obviously if there's hazardous trees or other trees left over, but yeah, we try and keep in quite a few companies really, just so all our eggs aren't one in basket. So we try and keep all our clients happy at the same time really. So yeah.
So you're up a tree, you come across a bird's nest, what do you do?
Can't carry out the work basically because obviously you're ruining obviously their home basically, so you just have to put that tree down as not done basically and then come back for it in September when they're not nesting. So you can check the nest, sometimes we check it, obviously you really know if there's nesting, you can normally see it from a ground point of view, but if you're up there you can sometimes obviously see birds coming in and out, but if there's no birds coming in and out, have a quick little view in there, just see if there's anything in there. Obviously there's nothing in there, it's a dormant nest, you can carry out the work, but otherwise you shouldn't carry out any tree works.
I would never have thought that.
Yeah, a lot of people don't. I mean, it's a very, like nowadays there's a lot of people obviously very protected about birds, so you have to just make sure you do your job properly. Even like pigeons, no one likes pigeons, but obviously you still can't carry out the work with them up there.
Really?
Yeah.
Pigeons in London?
Yeah, so you can't carry out with them. I mean, squirrels you can, but I mean they normally burrow inside the tree to be fair, like if poplars trees. But yeah, so that is a problem. Sometimes you could turn up to a job and you could not have to do it. So you just have to make sure you've got another plan of action just in case ever something happens like that.
Do you ever have squirrels throwing nuts at you?
I haven't. I've had them nearly attack me, like they run across near your head and they can jump onto your face. So I've heard of stories them gone to attack people, but I haven't had it lucky enough. One on, Nath, yeah? Yeah. You can come through. Oh, another pest you've got to watch out for is basically oak moth. So on the oak trees, a lot of them now in London, yeah, but basically oak moth, it forms a nest underneath. It's basically a moth, basically. And yeah. And basically what it can do, it's basically like a little caterpillar basically, and it's got all the little hairs on it. That will, you've got to make sure you check it before you carry out work, because that, your whole body will come out in a massive allergic reaction, all red over you. So you have to make sure before you carry any work. Basically it's called OPM, so basically you have to come and remove all the nests before you carry out work or spray the tree.
So those are caterpillars that give you a rash?
Yep, that's correct, yeah, in oak trees, yep. It's more spreading up to the north now, a lot of it was around the southeast, so yeah, that's one thing to look out for. And again, if you've got to be environmental friendly as well, you can't just be like, oh, get rid of all the trees. So again, you want to really, yeah, do's and don'ts, just basically look after nature, really.
So people shouldn't think of you as people who chop down trees, but
No.
people should think of you as people who preserve trees.
Yeah, that's what I like to think, because you get that 90% of the time. And to be honest, there's a lot of people like eco-friendly in this job, like a lot of hippies, there's a lot of people who like nature, but it's about explaining to them, like, it's like, for example, if you're like thinning woodland now or coppicing woodland, that woodland could be hundreds of years old. But obviously they see it as, oh, you're taking the woods out, but you're not. It's just like prolonging that life. It's different. Deforestation is a different to woodland management and things like that. So it's just about educating people. If more and more could be educated about trees, and we're not just here to hack trees down. Hopefully it'd be nice to get a bit more respect sometimes. Coming down all right, innit?
What's that, mate?
Coming down all right.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I think that's the right height, isn't it?
Yeah, I reckon, yeah, just prune it in hard, yeah.
Trying to keep the shape there.
Yeah, that's all right.
You look at a tree and you think, okay, this.
Yeah, so certain places will have like tree surveys done. So before we go to site, they will give like a recommendation on it. So some of it's we just go there, I work out how long it's going to take, and then we bring a team in. Sort of like this is what with this tree today, what we're carrying out. They've already had like a survey done on it. That's more like commercial. Domestic clients normally go for aesthetic look sometimes. So like a reduction in the back garden might be allowed more light into their house and things like that. And obviously in back gardens, it's nice to reduce a tree sometimes, a bit like a haircut really, thin it out a bit, let a bit more light transparent through, rather than you could leave it for a long period of time and then it goes past the point everyone gets annoyed about it, everyone's in uproar. If you just maintain its shape, sometimes it's quite a nice thing to do, yeah.
So you're helping neighbours get on?
Yeah, sometimes, yeah. You can't always help them, but yeah, normally Islandi ones are the worst for that, which is like an evergreen conifer. That's normally what you get in a lot of back gardens. If it's maintained as a hedge and it can look really nice, but if it's just box out light and they can grow like 60, 70 foot, yeah, neighbours have a bit of uproar sometimes with it.
Do you always have a positive reaction to what you're doing?
Yeah, it's nice to see the finishing outcomes, like of a tree and like what you can do. Like I said, we do get criticised sometimes as tree surgeons because people think we're just there obviously damaging the trees or taking them down. So I normally explain the reasons behind it, why we do it. But obviously, and there is a lot of bad practice people in the trade. So there is people that just do what they think, obviously, to get the money coming in. But that ain't always what we're all about, all of us.
So you do sometimes get people come along and go, oh no, that's my favourite tree.
Yeah, loads. Like sometimes you can get like purple leaf plums, for example. Like they can have a beautiful flower out and be fine, but the inner core might be obviously damaged, so it'd be like soft in the inside. So it's a deterioration of the inner core, and obviously that could peel over and die. So on the outside, the tree can look really nice, but the inside is not so great. But again, that's why sometimes we reduce a tree, just to allow its period to carry on, or you'll call it like a monolith. So basically, like if there's a big tree and it's deterioration, you just bring it down over a course of like 6 to 8 years. If it's an oak, you shouldn't just do it in one, just bring it down in the slow period.
What about your understanding of trees? How's it changed over time?
I'd say the last 5, 6 years there's a lot more passion into it. Like I suppose years ago people used to take trees down just because it was in their way, where nowadays obviously it's a lot different, trying to preserve everything for nature. There's a lot more TPOs on trees in conservation areas. They're a lot more funny with things. So yeah, it's just a...
What's a TPO?
Basically a tree preservation order. So basically it has an order on the tree, so any works what you have to carry out on the tree have to go through the council. Apart from deadwooding, we're allowed to deadwood it, which is basically like a piece of deadwood in there. So any works, if it's a reduction, a fell, even a crown lift, it needs to obviously be approved by the council.
Did you always want to be a tree surgeon?
I actually come from a background of horticulture, so my dad was into horticulture. He had his own grounds maintenance business, so I come from a background like that. And then he tries to put me off trees because it's a very dangerous job. So yeah, but I ended up going that way anyway.
Do you remember the first tree?
The first tree I did, just trying to think. I think actually it was obviously I learnt to climb on like oaks doing the course and that, but the first tree I actually carried out work on was believe it or not, was an Orlando in someone's back garden, a neighbour's dispute. So yeah, that was the first tree I ever had to reduce to a certain height. Yeah.
Did you talk to both sides of the fence before you did it?
They weren't on talking terms.
You mentioned a thing about the danger. Tell us a bit about the danger, because you're up and down trees. How do you think about the danger?
You come through, it's okay. Basically, you're tied up. You've got your rope and a harness, 2 points of anchor in the tree. It's evolved a lot. Like it used to just be knots. Now you climb on like different systems, which is more of a mechanical system. So it has got easier for us. More people use mupes now, which is basically elevated platform, basically a cherry picker, if you can get access, because you're always limited to access of where you are. Yeah, the danger is obviously when you're cutting, you always got to make sure you've got 2 points of anchor up there, which is basically roping in points. If it's a large tree, you can use a crane to dismantle, like if we're in a tight access space. You can use grapple saws now, which is like a chainsaw on like a big mechanical arm. So yeah, it's just assessing the situation and what you can do really.
So what's your colleague doing up there now?
Sorry?
What's your colleague doing up there now?
He is basically reducing the crown in quite hard just because of the weak union points up there. So yeah, he's up there. Yeah.
How dangerous is that? How far up is he?
He's probably about 40 foot up, which is not a massive deal of height today. I mean, sometimes when you're dealing with trees in London, like London planes and that, you're probably dealing with about up to 100 foot upwards sometimes when you're the big London plane trees. So yeah, it is very dangerous. You can get kicked back. So if you're in certain positions when you're sawing, the saw could kick back you in. So it's getting the right position while you're up there. You're always in sometimes awkward spots, just trying to make it as comfortable as you can up there. It's a very physical job. So yeah, it's quite hard on your body. So you always got to have your wits about you every single day. To be fair, in the rain it can be a lot more challenging. Obviously, if there's windy weather, you can be up doing call-outs and storms. So yeah, it's quite a challenging job.
So the call-outs and storms. Tell us a bit about that. So it's not just on a nice day you go out and do it. You have to do emergency tree work.
Yeah, of course, just like any emergency services really. If there's a tree blocking the road, obviously you've got emergency vehicles coming through, ambulances, fire brigade, so that road needs to be cleared as quick as possible. So you could have a tree on a house, so yeah, and you're just going to have to go out in conditions and deal with it the best you can, obviously as safe as you can. You'll do a risk assessment, site-specific plan, and try and come up with the best method as you can. But what you learn obviously in college and stuff, it isn't always like that in that scenario. It's just basically they will teach you the basics, but you're learning other stuff on the job a lot of the time. Over years experience, 15, 20 years experience, you're always learning new things. There's a lot of different things what can just happen obviously and you don't always see. So
Have you ever found yourself hanging off a branch?
yeah, a few times. Yeah, no, it's the higher you get your anchor point, of course you can get right out on the limbs, but yeah, most days are out on the limb, so yeah, you're right.
Literally out on a limb.
Out on the limb, yeah, that's it, right out there. So yeah, that's us.
The company that you work for, is it your company? Is it a big company?
Yeah, it's my company. So there's about 5 of us, 6 of us. So yeah, I've been going for about 7 years now. Before that, I've done a bit of railway work, which is not pleasant of work, but before that I worked for one of the large companies, carry out a lot of large crane work, large reduction work. So yeah, that's how I sort of started out.
When you mentioned the railways, you're talking about reducing the trees along a railway.
Yeah, that wasn't so nice. They try and reduce lethal, so it's a lot of taking down trees. So, and they're not nice beasts, but it's not a very nice environment. As I said, like the large company I worked for was a lot better, like preserving trees. We'd do a lot of street trees, a lot of park work. They were like a lot better company rather than the railway, to be fair.
And what was it like setting up your own business? That point of moving into it, was it a moment of risk? Was it a moment of tension for you? You're like, can I do this?
I was just in my early 30s at the time when I started, and it was either I stay at this large company where I was previous to the railway and try and work my way up to a manager, or I leave now and start myself, because I was in sort of a young fit state. I didn't want to get into my 40s, 50s and then start up. So it was a bit of risk. I had, obviously, my dad owned a horticulture business, so that helped us get him working from the beginning. But again, it was about 2-3 days a week. I'd done a bit of freelancing for other companies. So yeah, glad it's only probably the last 2-3 years to start seeing the rewards now. So yeah.
So you knew you were taking a risk?
Yeah, because obviously it's a very competitive. So It's always like you're up against like a lot of companies, especially if companies have been going. We come from Hertfordshire, so in some of the little villages, some people have been going 10, 15 years. So you're up against people who have been in the area a long time. So obviously you don't want to step on too many toes, and so it's just it's quite competitive out there.
All good?
Yeah.
Once you've taken down a tree, you take away every bit that you've taken down.
Yeah, if we're working on the canal like today, obviously this is not a fell, so it's a reduction. But normally if there's a tree coming down, we will leave logs for people. In London, not many people use logs, obviously boaters do, but out of London, a lot of people you're still allowed to obviously use in your house. But yeah, so normally we try and give back. If there's any schools nearby, they can have the wood chip. Yeah, and normally we take everything back, to be fair, to the yard, whatever gets all our waste, it will get taken to basically for biomass, basically for energy really. So somewhere they're putting it in a burner, and then that basically produces electricity. There's one on, yeah?
Yeah, no worries, mate.
One on home. Yeah, so it's very much, it's sort of just getting the balance really. That's what we sort of do really.
Where's the profit? You look at a job and you're like, that's a good job to do for business, that's a bad job to do. How does it divide up?
So basically you try and look at a tree, think how long will this take, like for the day, how much crew you'll need. So you try and work it out like that. I mean, there's all different rates. Like you could be saying like a 2-man team might be from anywhere from £700 to £1,200 a day, depending what area you're in. Because obviously a company, it's very expensive tree surgery. Like the trousers we have on there, £300. The boots are £300. The climbing kit's probably a couple of thousand. Chippers range from 30,000 upwards. Then you've got your insurances. So then you might have a yard running cost, which is money. So there's a lot of. Someone might be in someone's back garden and go, I don't know, it could be an £800 job. It could be even a £3-4 job, depending if it's a large tree to take down. So some people might think, oh my God, that's an extortionate amounts of money. But it's obviously the running cost behind it is extortionate. So that's normally the reasons. Obviously, if you work in London, you've got to have Euro 6 van. Again, it ain't going to be a box van. You're going to have a custom built tipper. So you could be talking 30,000 upwards. So yeah, there's just obviously a lot goes behind it. The saws are £600 to £800 each. So yeah, it's just a lot goes behind that side of the business really. That's when you sort of break it down. Basically, you break it down how difficult it's going to be, and if there's any elements of obviously something can get broke. Obviously, you try and eliminate that as much as possible, but you just got to take that into account and stuff like that. So yeah, that's how I normally work it out. What equipment you need.
And then in terms of the actual beauty of trees themselves, rather than thinking about them as a job to do, I mean, do you look at some trees and go, that is a beautiful tree?
Yeah, very often you'll see like a lovely, especially like old veteran trees, like big cedars, cedar blues, you'll see them and you'll be like, oh, they're beautiful trees. So you do get that a lot. Like even if you're working in London, you see a massive London plane tree, as much as they're a big tree, they're a beautiful trees to look at. So you do often see a lot of beautiful trees. If a tree surgeon says, oh, they're not really interested in it, they're not saying they're not tree surgeons, but you should feel a lot of passion for trees if you're working with them every day. So that's what I feel, yeah.
All good, mate, yeah?
Yep.
You're called tree surgeons.
Yeah. Arborist is the proper name.
What was that?
Arborist is probably the proper name terms to use.
How do you think of yourself?
Yeah, I see myself as an arborist. An arborist is more someone who appreciates trees, I would say. People use it more, so that's I try and call myself an arborist.
Do you sometimes do a tree and you think, oh, I'm not sure I've done a good job? It's like a haircut.
Occasionally, when I sort of learn, I'd always used to learn, when I come down, stand back, have a good look. I mean, obviously it's up to your grounds person on the ground. Sometimes you obviously always have one or two because you need an aerial rescue on site. So if anything happens, someone else should be able to go up and rescue him, theoretically. So as up there, might not look quite right, or you think it looks right. So you just, rather than just second guess getting on with it, you ask your grounds person, what do you think it looks like from the ground? And then you can sort of, work it out from there.
Tell me a bit about the pollarding, because it is common on town streets to see a tree properly taken down to its bare minimum.
Yeah, so they always say like reduce, because reducing looks a lot nicer, to be honest with you, and it is better for the tree. rather than a pollard. When you basically going back to the knuckles edge, you can.
So the difference between a reducing and a pollarding is what?
Basically, a reduction will be to growth points. So when you look at it, it looks aesthetically nice. Like you want to look at a reduction and go, it don't look like it's been touched, but the tree's reduced in size. Where a pollard is basically all the leaves are off, and it basically looks a bit like a skeleton as such. Basically, it's to create a framework. So the reason why they do it on street, sometimes they've done it for years, like 30 years. So obviously, if there's limbs going out over the buildings, obviously probably insurance issues, stuff could break off, and obviously subsidence. So sometimes they stunt the growth. But obviously they do it a lot over in France. So once you've kept that pollard cycle, you normally need to carry that on because it's hard to reduce a tree once it's been pollarded.
Oh, that's interesting. So pollarding basically determines the feature of that tree.
Yeah, basically. I mean, you can reduce it, but you ain't always going to get it aesthetically looking nice again because basically it will grow poles. And you can step up again a notch like higher, but really you're just setting a framework for that routine cycle. Basically like a cycle, it's going every 2 to 3 years, which I think sometimes they do it for street trees. Obviously, like I said before, your insurance issues or subsidence issues, you're going over buildings. So it's just, yeah, that's probably what they do it more as, yeah. Oh, you got it.
There's always one.
There's always one.
I reckon there's any chance you get rid of some of these ones, man? They block all my sunlight.
It's got going, but it's getting hit quite hard.
Hit it as hard as you can, bro. Cut it down for like I swear to God, man, the sun comes out and I don't see any of it because of all this.
Yeah, you see what I've done over this side?
Yeah,
It's all getting brought in like that, yeah?
Love you. Thank you, brother.
No worries.
You just let me know.
Lovely.
Gonna let one through, should I quick?
Yeah, go for it, mate.
Yeah, come through. Yeah, you can see there, obviously, some people always want more off, so.
All good, yeah?
So, yep, you're all good. So it's just trying to appreciate the public, really.
So that was a local person leaning out their window and saying, "Can you take some of the branches off near my window?"
Yeah, that's it. So obviously you can't always do that. You've got to go by obviously to your specifications. So, but most people are right if you sort of speak to them and let them know what's going on. You obviously do get some neighbours or public. So yeah, it's just you have to be a bit of a people's person sometimes to do with trees because you're always out in the public a lot of the time. So yeah.
Yeah.
About halfway through, isn't it?
You're about halfway, I think, so.
Couple on, yeah, Nate.
What's that, mate?
There's a couple of people coming through, yeah.
Okay, I'll wait for that. Sorry, mate.
It's all right. Yeah, ready? You're good to go now.
Yeah, go on, mate, let them through.
Come through.
So you're running the business, you want to grow it, or you want to go into a different part of the business. How much leeway is there to move around within the business that you do?
So yeah, there's other avenues rather than just doing like domestic. Obviously, you can push your commercial side so far, but sometimes it'd be nice you get a bit of help. So I sort of have like a business group I go to and like a business mentor. So it helps me push the business a bit further because as a tree surgeon and arborist, you you train to basically prune trees and cut trees and take trees down. So as such, you're not really a business person. So now you've got to try and be a businessman instead of being a tree surgeon, an arborist. So you've got to see it from a different aspect of things. So, which is hard because obviously your love for trees, you have to not take it away, but you've got to think about making profit in your business because you've got employees now. So you've got to think about making sure you make their wage. You've got to make sure their progression of training, you've got to bring in money from that. Yards, you want better equipment, you want the lads to do better. So you need to progress the business. So yeah, so I made the decision to go with a guy, George Cashflow is his name. Anyone wants to hit him up, they can. But yeah, he sort of helped me through to progress my business. I've been with him from about November now. So yeah, we've had 2 more employees on board. So we're probably growing our business by about 30-40% since he's been with us. So it's helped massively, yeah.
And so he is a business mentor, is basically training you up more on the business side.
Yeah, so there's a few, there's just one behind you, so there's a few like other trades there, so we all do a meeting together and then here get people in with like specific things to help you with the business. So it might be like you might have different like business people there who like, you might have someone who helps write tenders up, and in another month it might be like someone who helps with, oops, that's a bit of dead wood. Yes, red bit, yeah. So and then you might have someone who does like leasing vehicles. So you have like different people who help you in elements of the business, and he will sit down with us, run through our figures, see where we can improve on business. And if I feel like I might want to step up, is it the right time? And then he'll help me think, oh, do you know what, we should do this or then that. And then sometimes it gives you the push rather than if it's just you're like, you might be stuck at that phase all the way through because you're always wary of what you're going to do. Just be careful, 1 second, you can come through.
A tree's masculine or feminine?
Bit of both really, I think.
Like when you see them, you talk about like a nasty one. I mean, is there kind of ways that you kind of categorise a tree when you come towards them for a job?
Yeah, like you'll look at a lot of things like if you think it's horrible, like certain, obviously like poplar is a very weak wood, so you're very wary of that, like when you're working around it. And also what's below you, if you've got a lot of sheds, you could be over someone's outhouse, you could be over their conservatory, so there's a lot of risk involved there. So you know you're going to key factor into, especially as a climber, especially if you're going to be up there 6 to 8 hours, there's a lot of fatigue on the body. So you will see that as like, oh, that's not going to be a nice tree, or it's not going to be a nice climb. So, but after it, the rewards are really good. You think, do you know what, I've done really well, I've got this out of the way, and yeah, it's a good feeling, yeah. You want to sort that one up, Homer, or you right? Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah, go on, I'll keep an eye on those stairs. It's quite quiet actually here compared to the others.